All right, and looks like from me flipping through here that we have most of the folks that, on the commission, on the phone, or on the WebEx. I'd like to call the Plan Commission meeting to order. It is Wednesday, November 11th at 6:31 on my watch. We are holding this meeting via Zoom, and at the top of the agenda, those that want to join in can select that link, or there's also an audio phone number to call into. The meeting is being recorded, including the chats, so please take note. And again, we're doing all this due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So I'd like to do a roll call. Lisa?
Brinkmeyer?
Here.
Rome?
Here.
Justitian?
Here.
Ratcliffe?
Here.
Sale?
Here.
Schultz?
Here.
Williams?
Present. All right, thanks, Lisa. We have a quorum and the agenda was properly posted. We'll start off with a pledge of allegiance. So find a flag, folks. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 4 is public appearances, public's opportunity to speak on any subject that is not a specific agenda item. So I will take a pause. For those that do want to speak from the public, please let us know who you are, as well as where you live, and limit your comments to 3 minutes so that if we have multiple folks that want to speak, we make sure we get them all in there. So I will take a pause and allow anyone to speak on any subject.
Yes, John, this is Joe Bowers. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Joe.
Yes, Joe Bowers, village resident, 143 East Reynolds Street. And my brother owned the property at 4600 County Highway N. And I would like to speak on agenda item 6, the PIP for Cottage Grove Commons Phase 2 at the appropriate time. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. I'll remember. I just jotted you down, so I remember to pull you in at that point. Anyone else? All right. Then we'll move on to item 6 is discuss and consider a proposal for a precise implementation plan for CF investments for Cottage Grove Commons Phase 2 to be located south of Cottage Grove Commons Phase 1 on parcel 0711-042-95-15-1. I think I saw...
John, you want to get back to we'll do the meeting minutes then at the end?
Oh, I apologize.
Which is fine. No, it's no big deal.
Rushing right through. Thanks, Alex, for keeping me honest.
Sorry, everybody.
You should have stopped me earlier. All right, so item 5. I skipped maybe even numbers tonight. Item 5, discuss and consider the meeting minutes from the commission for October 14th, 2020. Any edits or discussion on that one?
Are we, item 14, I guess, Lisa, you have Eric highlighted XXX with XXS. Are we leaving that? Is the intent to leave that blank, or are you going to fill that in?
Sorry, no, I had already updated that, but I didn't send out the updated one, but it has a name and the company that he's with.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve with the edits that Lisa has completed.
Second.
Seconded by, first by Alex, seconded by Fred. And it's Excel, I think, is the company, because we I had seen that earlier too, so Eric's name is in there now. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. All right, now I will go.
John?
Yep, go ahead.
We didn't approve the meeting minutes from September in the last meeting. We were gonna wait on
I was
that.
going to mention that under future items.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have the September yet approved, so that'll.
Okay.
I don't know. It's a good catch as well.
Yes, thank you, Kim and Alex. We'll have to put it on a specific agenda item
Okay.
in the December meeting because we'd have to cover that. So I think, I know that Lisa listened back through the recording and we do have the meeting minutes captured. So we'll cover that in December.
Okay.
Hopefully on agenda. Thank you, Kim and Alex. Now moving on to item 6, as said mentioned before, discuss and consider a proposed precise implementation plan for CF investments for Cottage Grove Commons Phase 2 to be located south of Cottage Grove Commons Phase 1 on parcel 0711-042-95-9515-1. And I know I saw Frank's were here, and we can probably start with them.
Can you hear us, John?
Craig, I can. So you guys
Sounds great. Sounds
be in
great.
the conference room too as well.
Craig Frank, CF Investments, here with Corey Frank and Mike Hawkins. And like John mentioned, we're here seeking approval of the PIP and the final plat for the second phase of Cottage Grove Commons. Since our last meeting, we've really mainly been engineering related items that we've been working on. We still working through the details of some of them, but it sounds like very obtainable what we're trying to accomplish here with MSA. And Mike will get into that a little later, and along with some of the traffic concerns that we initially had. I believe they've been fully analyzed at this point, and there is a plan to accommodate the additional impact that this development may have. So at this point, the plan itself really hasn't changed to any degree. So I think what I'll do is just have Corey go through a PowerPoint again on it, and Mike will follow up and update you on the engineering and traffic issue. And we're here to answer any questions that you may have. Corey?
All right, so none of this should be new with exception for the minor changes that we've made since the last Planning Commission meeting. I'll start by going through overview again here, which you should be familiar with. And then with this being PIP, we'll go through the building plans and materials as well. So as discussed, CF Investments has interest in proposing a mixed-use development with a mix of mixed-rate apartment units, affordable condos, and office retail space. The mixed-use building with internal parking structure to have 115 residential units and 2,700 square feet of commercial space. The 233 units with underground parking to the south, 10-unit townhome with underground parking, and 78 units of affordable condominiums. Mix of two 27-unit garden styles with underground parking and elevator, and 3 8-unit townhome style with underground parking. Total projected value of the proposal is over $50 million. And I guess I should ask here, can everyone see the screen share here?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
So here we have our updated site plan on the left. On the right, we have the location of the site outlined As you can see, it's directly to the south of Cottage Road Commons Phase 1, in between, to the north of BP there. If you look at the site plan to the left, North Windsor Ave to be continued through north and south to connect with North Windsor Ave, where it's currently stubbed out to on the south, and connect through to Phase 1 of Cottage Road Commons. This would then bring North Windsor Ave all the way through to the north and connect to Gaston Road. Limestone Pass is also proposed to be extended east-west, lining up with Limestone Pass on the east side of Highway N. Starting with the north-west of the site plan here, you can vaguely see outlined the last 8-unit condominium in Phase 1. We would then be continuing with 3 more 8-unit townhomes with underground parking. And then we would have 2 27-unit condominiums with underground parking. Across to the east, we have the 115-unit mixed-use building, parking to the south, and parking ramp entrance off the parking ramp. The southeast corner of the building to be the office retail space, 2,700 square feet. To the south, we have 2 33-unit apartments with underground parking and additional surface parking lot. One change since the last meeting is this additional parking in front of the first 33-unit building, as well as additional added parking stalls in all surface parking lots. Mike will touch on the details in further detail at the end of the presentation here. And then to the southwest, you have the 10-unit townhome, and retention pond would be in Outlot 1. A couple items to note: outdoor amenity area between the 10-unit and 27-unit has been added. And to the north, where you see the existing retention pond and walking path from Phase 1, we have plans for a substantial outdoor amenity area and potential pool to the north of that as well. Here we'll go through renderings quickly since everyone has already viewed these. So here's a view directly from the south where North Windsor Ave currently ends. At the top of the screen, you see the existing 105-unit mixed-use building and the first 4 8-unit condominiums from Phase 1 of Cottage Road Commons. You have the intersection of Highway N and Gaston with Culver's across the street, and Summit and to the north by the interstate. Here we have the southwest view. So here you can see on the west side of the street is strictly condominiums, the 2 27 units and the 3 additional 8 units. And then we have the 115-unit mixed use and the 2 33-unit buildings. A little closer up view here. Here would be a view from the southwest. And this would be directly from Highway N, looking at the 2 33 units with the 115 unit on the right. This would be directly from the south. So this would be from the current end of North Windsor Ave looking north. And here we have a view from the north, which would be from the current street end in Cottage Road Commons Phase 1, looking south. On the left, you see the current retention pond, and then the condos on the right and mixed use on the left. And here's a view from the west between the two 27-unit condominiums. And now we'll focus a little more on the mixed-use building, which is the main aspect of this project here. So here's a little more zoomed-in view. As you can see, it's similar to the existing 105-unit mixed-use building. With a few architectural changes. It'll still consist of the 4-story parking ramp, internal parking ramp, a large rooftop amenity area, and the same quality of exterior materials. So the Texas wrap style building, 115 residential units, 2,700 square feet of commercial space. The internal parking structure results in more open space by reducing the surface parking requirements, 2+ parking stalls per unit inside the parking ramp. Rents range from $1,085 to $2,400 a month with multiple different unit types and layouts for tenants to choose from. Covered parking space can be enjoyed by commercial space employees as well. The parking ramp also has a positive impact on stormwater management by reducing impervious surface parking surfaces, and it also minimizes unsightly exterior surface parking. Building amenities include a 1,400+ square foot rooftop amenity with patio, tables, sports courts, fire pits, and grills. Indoor amenities include lobby, office, fitness center, and lounge. Sustainability of the building, construction is to be supervised by an energy consultant and will be Energy Star certified. Advanced heat pump technology for heating and cooling, which is the most efficient system available, and also results in no unsightly exterior grills on the building, which the typical HVAC system would have. High-end unit finishes throughout with wood laminate floors, quartz countertops, quality cabinetry, stainless steel appliances, washer dryer in each unit, and large windows and decks and patios. And, we've already touched on these items a little, but some of the key benefits of this Texas wrap style building versus a typical apartment building. First and foremost, ease of access. Tenants have the ability to park on the same floor of their unit, making the trip from vehicle to apartment as seamless as possible. Although the building has an elevator, we rarely see tenants with a need for the elevator, with the exception of accessing the 4th floor amenities. 2+ covered parking stalls available per unit. The typical covered parking stall per unit ratio is around 1 for a standard apartment with 1 level of underground parking. The reduced need for surface parking allows more green space on the property. With the excess space available in the parking ramp, we also have implemented large storage areas for tenants with varying sizes to choose from. Sizes range from 4 foot by 4 foot on up to 6 foot by 15 foot in size. Large 225 by 60 foot rooftop amenity area on the 4th floor of the parking ramp is something that no other apartments have. With the 11 different unit types, including 2-story townhome units, the building offers many more price points and options than a typical apartment complex. We talked a little bit about the high efficiency HVAC system. Benefit for a tenant would be the zone heating and cooling with the ability to have a different temperature in each room, and also greatly reduce utility bills. The next component of this property would be the affordable condominiums. Condo mix is 3 8-unit townhome style with underground parking, and 2 27-unit, 3-story garden style with underground parking as well. The above mix will provide options for a wide range of lifestyles and demographics. Unit sizes range from 740 to 1550 square foot, with 1, 2, 2+10, and 3-bedroom units available. Prices would be starting around $160,000. So the 8-unit condos, these will be identical to the 4 condo buildings currently under construction in Cottage Commons Phase 1. Heated underground parking with private entries to each unit. We'll go through the actual floor plans at the end here to give a full idea of the layouts. 2 parking stalls underground per unit, high-end finishes. These will be a mix of 2 and 3-bedroom units with prices starting in the 220,000s. And square footage of these ranges from 1,400 to 1,550. And then the 27-unit condos we're real excited about. This will provide an affordable new construction ownership option that is not currently available in the Dane County market. The target market of this building will be empty nesters looking to downsize and preferring accessibility without stairs. Right now, if you look at the condo market in new construction in general over the last several years, there are not many options for affordable condominiums for one, but even less for condos without stairs, which is important for older demographics looking to downsize. Currently, the only options for new construction condos in the Dane County area without stairs would be ranch duplex halves, which right now are averaging from $350,000 on up for small 1,500 square foot units. So this building will be 3-story garden style with elevator, meaning each unit will encompass just 1 floor with a common hallway on each level for access. Heat underground parking with 30 stalls per building, and then an additional surface parking lot as well. High-end finishes throughout, and again, a very wide mix of unit layouts and sizes. This building will have a full mix of 1, 2, 2+10, and 3 bedrooms, just like the mixed-use apartment building. Prices would be starting at the $160,000 range, which is by far the most affordable new construction on the market in Dane County. And another key aspect would be the relevance of the proposal to the comp plan, as discussed at the last meeting. This would be in planned mixed use area number 4. A couple key components to follow the comp plan here. North Windsor Ave and Limestone Pass to be extended as planned. The mixed use building is within 200 feet of Highway N, which is another requirement. Another requirement for this area is 100 square feet of commercial for every 10 residential units, which this proposal surpasses. The project is also less than the 25 units per acre, which is permitted. Another important part of the comp plan is that the village wants high quality design along Highway N. The exterior of this building consists of brick and hardy cement board siding, innovative design, minimizing unsightly surface parking, and the design is also a contemporary design that complements the surrounding areas. And then summary here. So in summary, the project we feel is very consistent with village discussions related to this site. The proposal maximizes given site to its highest and best use by giving commercial frontage, addressing a demand for apartments and affordable condominiums in the area, and offering amenities that will attract high-income tenants and businesses that may normally be residing in more densely populated locations. This tenant base has more of an expendable income to support local businesses. In addition, the project is attractive to new businesses that require a housing product such as this to recruit employees. Another aspect we feel is very important is the proposal works as housing as a revenue builder for Cottage Grove by increasing the number of households and housing types that place few demands on public services such as schools. This includes housing that is both compact in form and caters to relatively affluent, childless households such as empty nesters, retirees, and young professionals. The proposed project will help to broaden the tax base significantly without the higher service needs that usually accompany single-family housing. Let's see. Now we'll go through the floor plans briefly here. I'll try to keep it short here. This would be the 8-unit condominiums, which there'll be 3 of. So here you see the underground parking. On the right side, you have the garage door access. The unique thing about these versus a typical building with underground parking is, as you can see here, each unit has its own separate private entry staircase. So how that works is each unit has 2 parking stalls and then their own staircase and private entry up to their unit above. So there's no common hallways, which means more privacy for the condo owners, as well as the stairwells give a good buffer between parking stalls and give it more of a true 2-car garage feel. We also have 2 storage units per unit and underground parking as well. And here we have the first floor, which is all open floor plans with kitchen, dining, living room, and half bathroom, fireplace and TV in the TV ledge in the living room. And then each unit has its own stairs up to the second floor, which has the bedrooms and 2 full bathrooms. In unit, second floor laundry is on the second floor as well. They're on the bedroom level. And here we have the elevations, which relate to the renderings you viewed earlier as well. So it's a mix of, these buildings are a mix of cultured reflection stone, vinyl siding, 3 different colors, and LP trim. And here we have the materials, so reflection stone and color shown here. The 3 siding colors can be viewed at the bottom there. And here we have the 10-unit townhome building, which is located at the southwest of the parcel. This building is identical to the 8 units, just 1 unit longer in length. So there's 2 extra 2-bedroom units in the middle of the building. Here you can see the first floor with the open layouts, and second floor living level. Elevations here, which are consistent with the 8 units as well. The building is just 22 feet longer in length. Now here we have floor plans of the 27 unit condominiums. So here you can see elevator, common hallway, and then 9 units on each floor. At the ends of the building, we have 3-bedroom and 2-bedroom plus den units. Interior units, 2 bedrooms, 1 bedrooms, and one bedroom plus den unit. And then the second and third floor would be identical layout to the first. And then here you see the underground parking with elevator access, 28 parking stalls, and there will also be 1 storage unit per unit in underground parking as well. Here we have elevations. These buildings to have a pitched hip roof with shingles, much like the 8 units and 10 unit buildings on the left side of the street. First level brick up to the top of the first level of the building. Siding to be a mix of hardy cement board, lap siding, and flat panel. The material and overall design real similar to the mixed-use building. Here we have the north and south elevation. Real big decks on these as well, which will have tinted glass railings, just like the mixed-use building as well. Materials here, top left, you can see the brick color. The bottom left, Country Lane red would be the hardy lap siding, the main color for the building. The accent color would be the Arctic white flat panel siding, and then iron gray as a accent at the decks. And here we have the 33 unit buildings. So I'll keep it short with these. These are identical to the 27 unit, just 1 unit longer in length. So it's 6 1-bedroom units in addition to the 27 unit. Other than that, it has the same overall layout. And again, you have the 3-bedroom and 2-bedroom plus dens on the ends of the building, and 1-bedroom plus den, and 2-bedroom options in the middle of the building. Underground parking with 34 parking stalls. And here we have the elevations. One difference in this versus 27 units is this building has a flat roof. Reason being, these 33 units will be fronting Highway N, and would like to keep consistency with the style of the mixed-use buildings. Whereas the 27 unit, which is on the west side of North Windsor Ave, has a pitched hip roof to more so fit the architectural style of the 8-unit condominiums. And here we have the colors. So the brick will be a different color brick than the 27 unit building. Hardy plank lap siding color would be a darker blue, deep ocean you see here, with white and iron gray accents. And here we have the mixed-use building. So this would be the first floor. On the south side, we have the garage access, parking ramp access coming off of the main parking lot. To the left of that is our front entrance and community area. Fitness center will also be on the first floor. To the southeast corner, we have the 2,700 square feet of commercial space fronting Highway N. And then as you can see, we have the internal parking ramp with elevator, 2 stairwells, and the ramp begins circling up all the way to the 4th floor of the building. So here we have the 2nd floor plan, which is a replica of the 1st floor. When we get up to the 3rd floor plan, this is when we start to see some 2-story townhome units begin to be implemented. So the entire north half of the building on the 3rd and 4th floor are 2-story townhome units, which encompass both the 3rd and 4th level. So these units will have 3rd floor hallway access, stairwells within their units going up to 2nd floor bedroom level. And here we have the 4th floor of the parking ramp. On the north side, the parking continues up to the top of the ramp. The parking is then ended. On the south side is our large rooftop amenity area where you can see outlined here. It'll have a walking jogging path, basketball court, shuffleboard, bocce ball, and a seating area with grills, fire pits, and lounge seating. Here we have the elevations. So the architectural style is to be consistent with the first mixed-use building in phase 1 of Cottage Grove Commons. We will have brick encompassing the entire first level of the building, and then floors 2 through 4 will be a mix of hardy plank, high-end hardy plank, lap siding, and flat panel siding. Real large decks again with accent trim and a tinted glass railings, which both provides a nice look plus covers any unsightly furniture any tenants may have. And then here we have the materials for the mixed-use building, colored to be the green mountain sage shown here with flat panel Arctic white accents and iron gray at the decks. And here is an image of the brick as well. And Mike, did you want to go over the site plan here?
Sure. I guess I just got a couple of points that I want to make based on the memos that we received from Aaron and from Kevin. 3 items specifically to touch on. One, stormwater management. Eric Thompson had made some comments about potential for flooding if we don't control stormwater coming out of Lot 1. There's some existing houses to the southwest of this development that there's a 15-inch storm sewer that drains a small depression along the back property line, and wanted to make sure we were sensitive to the release rates that would not inundate the 15-inch pipe any more than it currently handles. So we've increased the size of the stormwater basin in Lot 1 by modifying slopes of the banks from 4 to 1 to 3 to 1, so made them a little steeper. The pond got a little bit bigger, and we changed our outlet structure from a 24-inch pipe and reduced that size down. I believe it's at 18-inch now, but what the modeling is showing is that we are not increasing the height of the water at all on that back property line based on the modeling. And our engineer that's been running the calcs with Eric back and forth, they've lined up their maps together, and they're been diligent about making sure that we don't have any issues, certainly from a modeling standpoint, increasing flows. There will be more water volume-wise running that way just due to the impervious area, but we will be holding enough back in Outlot 1 to release it at slow enough rate that the 15-inch pipe should be satisfactory. So that was kind of a major item that jumped out at us through the review, and we worked through that over the last couple of days. Another item, Aaron pointed out in his review letter about the parking. We've increased the amount of parking on a few of the parking lots by expanding them, the length of them, and then also I introduced one on the west side of the 33 unit building. So essentially the 570 stalls and 269 units were at 2.12 stalls per unit, which certainly should be satisfactory. And also from Limestone Pass up to phase 1 along the east side of Windsor Avenue, there are opportunity for street parking there for another probably up to 20 to 25 cars, even beyond what we're providing within the private development. So I think we're good in handling the parking situation for the number of units. And then I think the last item we need to talk about a little bit is there's been the memo that Kevin's traffic engineer sent out based on the traffic counts. There was some, we certainly read it and understand it and not disagreeing with any of the assumptions made. A couple of things to point out would be the assumption on COVID, post-COVID traffic. There is a little bit of an unknown there and how things are going to function from a traffic standpoint. Our assumptions aren't any better than Brian, who did the TIA, so not disputing any of that. He does point out that the southbound right turn onto Gaston and the southbound right turn onto School Road both appear to be undersized at this point. It's basically just a taper right now, and that there should be extension of an actual turn lane to prevent future problems with anybody backing up for a right turn movement. So, I think the follow-up memo is that after further discussions is that School Road will be looked at by the village at a later date, since most of the traffic from this development won't be using School Road. They'd be accessing through Limestone and or Gaston Road. So certainly understand the improvements that are needed in those recommendations. What I haven't analyzed, and I didn't go back and read the memo, but the length of the right turn lane that's required on Gaston Road, if that's tied to the actual traffic from this development, the increase from existing traffic, adding this traffic, whatever additional length there is, certainly, and I guess I'll let Craig follow up and speak to it. I don't think we're disputing that necessarily as much as you just want to do what's right for this development and not solve a village problem if there's an existing issue there.
Yeah, so I mean, it sounds like there's still a little gray area regarding that. And we're open to obviously accommodate the traffic that conceivably is going into our project, but it sounds like it's kind of gray here as to whether the analysis was strictly for our project.
Yeah. And I think we need to quantify the costs associated with the right turn lane before disputing it, I guess.
You bet.
So we can leave that item for further discussion as it relates to the developer agreement and through that approval process, understanding what that Gaston Road right turn means for the developer agreement. We'd appreciate that. Get a little bit better look at that. The other item that was brought up in the memo, that the pedestrian crossing, the existing median that is there, I believe, will function adequately for a staging area, for protection area for people trying to cross County Trunk Highway. And I understand there's going to be a path put next year on the east side of N, and so there's the improvements that are the one crossing across the median and tying into that certainly makes sense. And there's a suggestion that some beacons or some warning signs for pedestrian crossing would be part of the improvement to certainly make it a little safer, which hard to dispute, making sure everybody's safe crossing there. So certainly not opposed to that. We'll be taking those improvements that are in the recommendation, updating our plan and submitting it to the county for their review and approval also. Let's see what else I want to say on that traffic.
Can I ask a question on that?
Sure.
While you're on that, I kind of had that as some of my comments. Maybe MSA can jump in here too. And so the number 3, I guess it's we're talking about the south phase, your phase 2 here, and then the number 3 on the MSA memo, and maybe they can comment. Developers should include and be responsible for the required turning lane along southbound and at Gaston Road based on the proposed traffic anticipated for this development. So just help me understand the word required. So how is it the village, what ordinance are we following? What is the engineering study that says that that turning lane is a requirement where, the village has expanded that turning lane as part of the TID way back when, and we never had a turning lane there before?
John, if you're fine, I've got Brian Hubricks, who's our traffic engineer, who basically kind of put together this TIA on here. And I guess if Mike's done or wherever's a good time, we can do a brief summary of the traffic impact analysis just to kind of give everybody a quick summary of everything on it. And then, that should answer some of the questions on there as well.
Yeah, I think just one more point. I knew we had something else, and then I'd certainly be happy to shut up and turn it over to you and Brian to expand on it. But in response to Mr. Bauer's comments about 2 lanes of traffic heading south and the tapering and going to 1 lane, I think the TIA does a nice job of defining that one of those lanes that is being used to race to get in front of one another right now, that's going to be a designated right turn lane, the way I understand it. And so that advance warning will make people get themselves lined up for the through movement a lot earlier than just off the end of the median. So I think that designated right turn will help that situation coming up from going south from Gaston Road. So that was just something I thought was a positive that came out of the recommendation and addresses some of Mr. Bauer's concerns.
Okay, Mike, are you, those the rest of your comments? All right, thanks, Mike, Corey, and Craig, appreciate it. So we'll kick it over to staff. We'll start with Aaron and then go to Kevin and Brian.
Sure, as the design team kind of indicated, most of the work since last month has been engineering related, so I don't have a whole lot of new things to address. We did get the final unit counts of 1, 2, 3 bedroom units, and based on that, the required amount of parking was 564 spaces based on our ordinance, and as Mike indicated, they're providing 570, so they don't need any exceptions or anything for that. The landscaping plan is up to date and still consistent with the ordinance. They provided a photometric plan that shows the lighting is in compliance. They addressed the sidewalks, which I think was a comment I had last time. So my recommendation is for approval, and my conditions are really just reminders for the record that they'll have to get sign permits down the road, and then just documenting the exceptions that do exist related to density, building height, and the number of units per building. And then for the final plat, I did not have any conditions. I think MSA had a few on that.
All right, thanks, Aaron. Let's kick it over then to Kevin. Brian.
All right, thanks, Aaron. Thanks, John. Yeah, I guess Mike did a good job of pretty much addressing, I think, most of our comments that I had on here. I won't go through these, every one of them. Some of them are just some very small items that we're doing with the engineering that are on the plans. Some items that will be addressed as Mike had mentioned when with the final traffic and everything as far as plan with the striping and everything like that will be completed. We had a few small utility things, just verifying some grades. The big items that Mike had mentioned with the stormwater, and we've been working with them, like you said, with Eric and Brian. They've been going back and forth and doing like I said, working with us. So I don't see anything that is going to hold. I think that can all be worked and everything. There's nothing that with the work they've done the last few days and everything. And then our other recommendations were basically the two other main items were the traffic items. So like I said, I do have Brian on here. He can kind of go through, and I don't think we need to do page by page of the traffic study, but obviously we can answer any questions, but he can do a good job of just kind of giving a brief summary of it and everything for everybody's information as well, especially related to the COVID type stuff with the numbers. It's some interesting information as well. So I'll turn it over to him, and then we can address any questions as well.
Thanks, Kevin. Like I said, I'm Brian Hubrex, traffic engineer at MSA. You've probably seen my name on some memos. Just to give you guys a brief summary, the memo is pretty technical, as most traffic studies are. But obviously our biggest challenge to start was trying to figure out what we want to use for our baseline for traffic volumes. Back in 2016, when we put the signal in at School Road, we had completed counts out there. So that was the closest thing we could find to a baseline of what things used to be like. I've been keeping in contact with a lot of people at DOT who have been tracking what the interstate volumes have been over the course of these last 8-9 months here. At this point, since March, they dipped down to almost 50% to start. And now we're somewhere, most of the interstate, more of the major arterials that we're collecting are somewhere between 10 and 20% down. So nothing's come back, shouldn't surprise everyone, but traffic has at least getting back up from that half cut earlier in the year. So we did our counts. We did at School Road and Gaston Road. We found out from those counts alone that to what we expected in the PM peak hour, we saw about a 20% reduction in traffic. In the AM peak hour, we saw a 40% reduction. So the amount of AM peak is substantially down to even what we were just seeing in 2016. I guess the easiest way to view it is, so coming up from School Road northbound towards the interstate, we had 800 through trips that we counted back in 2016. Now we are down to just below 400 on our count this spring. So definitely seen a substantial reduction in the AM peaks. So what do we do with that? We basically decided that, as Mike alluded to, there's a lot of unknowns with what type of traffic and how it's going to come back and how quickly it's going to come back. So we thought our safest situation was to use the 2016 volumes as our baseline and upscale the Gaston Road volumes with proportional distributions of who's turning left, who's turning right, and establish that as our baseline. Other things we wanted to consider, because we felt like it was a major generator, is obviously Summit has very, very few staff, if any, at the office. So the study also included a trip generation for the Summit building, because we felt that was a big enough generator that would have, when things start coming back, have an impact on the traffic at that intersection of Gaston. So we used that. We were looking at 2025. We assumed about 2.5% growth and projected what our best background traffic was. Again, as Mike was alluding to too, this is our best engineering judgment based off of the data we had. We're lucky enough to have those 2016 counts at least give us a sense of what we were as a starting point. So the study included Cottage Road Commons, the unoccupied space. We got that information of the unoccupied buildings. Phase 2 of the Commons, moving on out, and as I mentioned, Summit Credit Union was all generated and applied to both the School Road and Gaston Road intersections. From there, we did the operational analysis that takes a look at delay and queuing. Overall, and this is what I think, again, what Mike had mentioned too, is from an operation, so from a delay standpoint, we didn't see any movement, even with development traffic, that dropped down to what we see in the industry as needs of improvement, which is somewhere around a level of service C, which is how we rate delay in D. Everything's around that C. We do see a couple movements hitting capacity if you saw those areas highlighted in yellow on the study. The other thing we noticed, we also look at queuing. Obviously, as was alluded to, we all know those right turn lanes are really just stubs or flares. They're not operating as truly a right turn lane. So what we're seeing is those are continually getting blocked, even in peak hours and non-peak hours, where people making those movements are not getting into those lanes. The reason, as part of the improvements, and we mentioned that, is that's kind of an area of concern in the short term, is as we're seeing so much more development occurring on the west side of N, it's hard to exactly know. Our studies are showing that we're going to see a little extension, but those lanes are going to start seeing more queues and more blocking and more volume. So as more volume goes, that is where we came up with that recommendation that this should be an area that we could potentially looking at improving, and the village should consider in the short term as we see that west side of the road. Before, we always know that there was some left turn or southbound right turn, particularly at Gaston Road, that was turning right there, but the volumes are going to see quite a substantial jump with all the development occurring up there. I'm just trying to see if I have any other notes here. And as much, and I want to mention too that we have that as part of our exhibit that we shared, or Kevin shared with you at Limestone with the pedestrian crossing. We do have that merge lane kind of turning into that southbound right turn only lane. It does have a tendency to be called a trap lane at times because you have to shift out of it. We did recommend the overhead sign to help address that, get people over in lane. But you will still see the challenge in any type of decision like that is people do tend not to pay attention, and there will be some late second shifts you'll still see drivers do. So the problem of people maybe racing around isn't going to be completely fixed, but we're trying to provide more warning to improve that. Sorry, I threw a lot out at you guys. I'm happy to answer and dig into more of the details for you.
I guess back to my question, I guess then it was the item number 3. It's just confusing to me. So Aaron has, just comments, no real recommendations when we move to a motion, but the developer should include, and then you're saying there's a required turning lane along the southbound of N. And so I'm just trying to understand how, I understand there's volume, there's increases and all this other stuff, but how is it the developer's responsibility for this turning lane that's going to be, I guess this is right next to the schoolhouse, right? This is where that's going to be.
And I can, I can't speak for, how the plan commission or board would answer the question, but from a legal standpoint, I believe you asked about, ordinance requirements and how you can impose this requirement. So it's important to remember what the developer is doing here is they're asking for a rezone. So it's a purely legislative decision. So when we're looking at especially a planned unit development, there are flexible standards and there's more, basically there's just power for the village since it is a rezone to impose conditions upon the rezone. And, traffic impacts, if the plan commission determines that this will result in more traffic that requires a lane or a right turn lane, it has the authority to do that just from a legislative standpoint because it's rezoning the property to accommodate this development. Plus, there are various zoning requirements within the village's ordinances that talked about traffic circulation and those types of standards to ensure that developments aren't causing traffic congestion.
And I guess to add to it, Alex, if it, I don't have the exact numbers. Brian would know better than I would a little bit on it, but I guess our statement is basically kind of coming from what we anticipate the additional traffic that basically between Cottage Grove Commons Phase 1 and Phase 2 is going to generate of the right turn and cause some problems there. So that's what the recommendation is based on there.
All right, I guess I'm getting caught up in the semantics. It seems like during the presentation from the developers, they were covering all these conversations anyway, and they were talking about working with the village and continue on. But I guess, in that one statement, they should include this, but it's required in the same sentence is where I'm sort of, I'm trying to, so I appreciate the legal aspects of what we're trying to do here. That's where I try to wrap my head around and make sure that we're following some sort of a process. So then I guess process-wise, I guess I'm just trying to wrap my head if we're going to require it or we're going to say, hey, continue to work with the village and make this work, I guess, right? I mean, is that what you're saying from a plan commission aspect, right? I mean, I don't know what, if I made a motion on that statement, there's 2 different words. It should be done this or it's required to do this. And so I want to be clear to builders, to planners, to people who want to come into the village that this is the statement that we're going to follow. So I guess that's where I'm just stuck at right now.
and I guess maybe I could use better language in going forward. But I guess our intent of that was that it was basically it was going to be required now with the development and required by the to be put in at this time with the development by the developer. Now, if they, if there's any negotiations or whatever but that was our intent with it.
Okay.
All right. Before I forget, I want to make sure I loop in and Joe Byros indicated earlier that he would like to speak on this particular agenda item. So I would like to give him an opportunity to speak and then turn this over to the commission to ask any questions that you'll have regarding this particular precise implementation plan. So, Joe, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm still here, John. Thank you. As I've said before, I'm in favor of the project. I think phase 1 looks very good, and phase 2 follows along those lines. So I agree with the phase 2 project. My question is along the lines of that Limestone Pass new intersection with Highway N. Just wanted to clarify and confirm my understanding that I gained in reading through the MSA documents, particularly the third document there by Brian. County Highway N Limestone Pass pedestrian crossing alternative. In the first paragraph there, the attached alternative assumes that the current westerly southbound lane will become a dedicated right turn lane as part of phase 2 commons improvement along County Highway N. So does that mean that there will be 2 lanes on County Highway N from going south from the Commerce Park Gaston Road intersection all the way to Limestone Path, with the right-hand lane having some signage saying that at some point there that lane becomes a right turn only, so that we have basically 2 lanes from Gaston Road to Limestone Path, with the right turn lane becoming a dedicated, or the right-hand lane, becoming a dedicated right turn lane. And then the second, the last part of that paragraph, the merge effect will still exist. Do I understand that to mean that the merge point now will no longer exist? That will be straight through to the new Limestone Path, but there will still be a merger effect south of the new Limestone Pass intersection. In other words, a right turn on Limestone Path onto Highway N southbound, you will need kind of a acceleration lane, if you will. So at some point, if they don't obey the signs and you're in the right-hand lane and you don't turn right onto Limestone Path, then you will have to merge over into the left-hand lane if you want to continue through. So I just wanted to verify that that merger effect will now be south of the new Limestone Path, as opposed to the way it is now, which is a little bit north of the Limestone Path. That's one of my comments. And then I did mention the accident that occurred a few months ago with police case 20-2745. If anybody did factor that into the traffic study or the Plan Commission members took a look at that, I did finally receive a copy of that, and speed was a factor, according to the officer's report. And then they listed the property that the vehicle finally came to rest on as 4700 County Highway N, and that should actually be 4600 County Highway N, which is our property. The vehicle came to rest on against a tree on our property. I did reply back to the village management document manager to get that corrected. I haven't heard if that's been corrected, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that the car was speeding and it came to rest at on our property 4600 versus 4700. So those are my comments. Thank you for being heard. I'll turn it back over to you.
All right, thanks, Joe. Again, appreciate you providing your comments and feedback regarding this development. All right, so then we'll move to Plan Commission questions for either the developer or for staff.
I guess I have another question, John.
Please.
He said, "Go for it."
Yeah,
I guess the pedestrian. I just want to talk a little bit, maybe to our staff. The pedestrian crossing. I guess I know there's. I think that's to connect to the walking path that's on the east side. That's not there now. That's proposed for the future. And is that really the right thing to do, to put a pedestrian crossing at that spot with no traffic control? I'm concerned that could potentially be an issue, especially if I'm not clear as now that our neighbor was describing different scenarios for where the merge lanes and turn lanes can be, that someone's going to be accelerating through a pedestrian lane. And again, that's sort of 2 lanes of traffic you got to cross. You're going to play Frogger getting across there. So what's the, and I think we're trying to connect to something on the east side that doesn't exist yet. Is that right? Is that what's all coming together?
Yeah, so Alex, there's a plan to finish the bike path, which the first portion has been done last year. The rest will be done next year, and that's what it'll be connecting to. So it'll go all the way down through past Commerce Park to the circles, and I'll let the the engineers talk about that. But whether we put anything there or not, because limestone is there, we will have people going across there, guaranteed. So we better make it as safe as possible. It's a given. So whether you put anything there or not, they're going to run across there. So let's try to make it. I think the whole goal here is in the design is try to make it as safe as possible. But I'll turn that over to Kevin and Brian to talk about it a bit more.
Kevin, I'll take this one. Yeah, I would agree. Obviously, the signal, a controlled intersection is preferred because it gives a little bit more security, either roundabout or a signal for pedestrians. What we added here is we did, I would agree, there's a lot of pavement width out there. And you mentioned Frogger, and they'll try to help that is having the median. There is enough width. It needs 6 feet according to at least our aerial measurements. And I know Mike and his group will make sure that it's the case to have a safe pedestrian crossing. So at least we only are crossing southbound and northbound separately at 2 different times. Then we did emphasize the rectangular rapid flashing beacons. Most of the times you just see the one. Here in this case, in that picture in that memo, as an example of what you see that's in Wanakee by the high school there, is really trying to bring attention to it. So the kind of what John said is, yes, we know pedestrians are going to cross there. So what type of mitigation factors can we do to improve that safety? The memo also include other comments. We can put high visibility crosswalks, which would be more of those, the ladder style, you see a lot more paint. They're a bit like 2-foot sections to help bring attention. So there's other steps we can take too. But this is trying to mitigate those efforts, knowing that pedestrians are going to be driving across that road at this point.
Would it make sense to put a sidewalk along the west side of the road that would go to Gaston, where there is a controlled intersection, so that they could cross there? I don't think there's any sidewalk along Highway N, is there?
No, and I think we looked at that, and the tricky part is the crossing in front of the cemetery. There's an elevation change that was difficult, I think.
Okay.
Wasn't that something that was a problem?
Yes, and it's still not going to change behavior of people. People are going to cross it. That I'm just. We have the same problem over by the post office.
Yeah.
You look at any community. This is people take the shortest route they think they can take.
Yeah.
People can take the sidewalk up Windsor to Gaston and over on Gaston to get to that intersection that way, so it's not impossible to walk up there.
Is the burden of this intersection, this crosswalk, on the project or more towards the village and the TIF?
It's part of the conditions I think we're putting it on the developer.
Okay.
Yeah, my recommendation was that this would be part of this development, and obviously the path on the east side that it would be connecting to is a village project, but the crossing itself is on the development.
Okay. And it looked like they were addressing it in the presentation, and so I'm comfortable. Thank you. That's all I got.
All right. Other questions, comments from commission members?
I don't think a sidewalk on in is completely impossible. Just kind of driving by that daily in front of the cemetery, it does kind of drop down. So I don't think it's completely impossible to run a sidewalk there. Not that I think we necessarily have to do it, but just if we want to do it, it looks like it is doable.
Other comments from commission members?
I have a couple questions. Is the condo HOA going to be added together, or are they separate from the current phase 1 HOA? That's one question I had. For CF investments.
There would be consistency with that. Sorry about that. We were on mute there. Yeah. So the full details of that we're obviously in the early stages of that, but more than likely it'll be two different HOAs. The 27 unit condos, the two 27 unit condos would be separate from the 8 unit condominiums. Reason being, the expenses are allocated different in a 3-story 27 unit versus an 8 unit. So the expense per unit is lesser with the 27 unit. So with that being said, the HOA would be separate, but it would have the same management company managing each condo association, which keeps the upkeep consistent.
Thank you. And then, Mike, are you saying that the road features would be talked about in the development plan at a later time, or?
I guess what I'm hearing is the recommendation from Kevin is that those improvements are part of the approval and that those improvements will be covered by a developer agreement.
And we want to be working with the village on what makes obviously these intersections safe. But this is again evolving here, and we don't have any estimates yet. We don't know the length of these turn lanes, and so there's some unknowns right now. The hope is, of course, that we can work through all those elements, and we would be supportive of paying for it and improving those areas. But if it starts getting excessive, what we're talking about doing here, we need to we need to discuss that and have some flexibility that in theory would be covered in a developer's agreement.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at. I'm confused on prior comments on kind of tying that into today's discuss and consider, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Sure. So we're I guess from our perspective, we're accepting of MSA's recommendations for these items, but that is to be further discussed and the fine details worked out within a developer's agreement.
So, Kyle, I'm sorry to jump in. So, process-wise, if it comes in excessive, back to our staff, if it comes in excessive and they need to come back in to renegotiate or something or whatever, that would come back to Plan Commission then as a change, or back to the board for negotiation of cost fees or something, or how does that all work?
I think it would be the latter, Alex, unless they're looking for a complete change of the condition.
Sorry, Kyle, just jumped in there. Go ahead.
No, I appreciate it. I'm trying to get clarity on that portion of it, because I think it's handled at a later date. That's what they told me on other projects. So I'm just a little confused.
No, Kyle, all these conditions are handled at this stage, and conditions of approval are then worked into developer agreements at a later date. This is no different than any other project.
Well, but that's what I'm getting at. It's lining up for the developer agreement at a later date, and/or request at a later time. So
yeah, but we need approval of the conditions from the Plan Commission to put into the developer agreement.
No, you need it from the board, but yeah, I'm following.
Well, right. Yeah.
Because
a recommendation from Plan Commission.
Yeah.
Other questions or comments from the commission?
I guess what I'm just getting at is to leave it kind of a little bit more open-ended, like they requested, to allow that to take place. I think the project looks good and it's needed in the area, and I think stating that with that caveat regarding costs would be a proper motion.
And just from the legal perspective of it, I think that would be, we can work with that if there's, consideration for costs, just as long as if the Plan Commission and board want to include this in a developer agreement, it needs to be approved by, or recommended for approval here and approved by the board for us to actually put that into an agreement.
Thanks, Rick. Other questions or comments from the commission? Otherwise, is there a motion for consideration for the PUD?
I'll motion to recommend approval with staff conditions, with the caveat of the negotiations on the development agreement regarding costs.
All right, thanks, Kyle. Thanks, Fred. Seconded by Fred. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. All right, then item 7 then is discuss and consider proposed final plat from CF Investments for Cottage Grove Commons Phase 2 to be located south of Cottage Grove Commons Phase 1 on parcel 0711-042-9515-1. Any discussion or questions from the commission members? Otherwise, is there a motion of consideration here?
I'll make a motion to recommend for approval to the board.
All right, thank you, Kyle. Is there a second?
Okay.
Motion second to approve the final plat as presented. And any further discussion?
I believe Kevin had some.
Oh, yes. Again, is that okay, Kyle, with the conditions and Brett
Yes.
as presented in the action? Okay. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries. All right. Thanks, Franks, and thanks, Mike. Then we'll move on to item 8 is discuss potential zoning amendment regarding solar panels. There is a memo in the packet regarding this.
Yes, I think this can be fairly brief. Solar panels are mentioned very briefly in our zoning ordinance in a way that kind of doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I think we should update it. That technology has changed a lot since that part of the ordinance was written, I'm sure. We do have a sustainability committee up and running now, and I believe John can correct me, but isn't there someone on that committee that is part of the solar industry that probably knows a fair amount about this?
Yes, there is.
So I guess my recommendation would be to ask them if this is something they want to propose some language for, that we can come back and make sure our zoning is up to date and not getting in the way of anyone who wants to do this.
All right, thanks, Aaron. Any questions or comments from commission members?
The other nice thing about sustainability committee is Heidi Murphy is on that and ordinance. So I think sending this to sustainability committee would make sense because she also knows how to do the ordinances as well.
Thanks, Melissa.
I was going to ask what was vague about the zoning ordinance since you didn't include it. I didn't have a chance to research it, but knowing that we have a sustainability committee is definitely the right direction to kick it over to them. And that's the, especially if you got somebody who's a solar panel person on that group to help have a good conversation about it. So, yeah, this looks good.
Minimum or maximum dimensions about how it can relate to the roof, and it's kind of gray how you can interpret it, and I'm not sure it's even really applicable based on the way panels are made today.
So if somebody was going to come in and put solar panels up, I mean, are they going to the village to pull permits, or are they just going to Alliant Energy to get permission to tie onto the grid? I mean, how does this affect us at all anyway?
They still do need a building permit for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get building permits.
Okay.
Yeah, and if it's that vague, I think we ought to address it, and I can take this to sustainability because I'm also on that committee.
Do you have any nights off, John?
A few.
Okay.
It's all right. I signed up for this. Sustainability is fun.
I think way back when solar first came into being, there were some instances where people got a little carried away and crazy, and some of their neighbors weren't really thrilled with the looks of how their solar panels were placed on their homes, and so I think that's where it came from. I mean, there was way back, like I said, there was different cases where neighbors were upset, about how the excessive size of the panels and where they were placed and how they were placed. So I think that's where it came from, and that's kind of the spirit of what it's not being against solar, it's just trying to have some guidelines and common sense on sizing and placement of it.
All right. Is there any further discussion or a motion for this particular? Or actually, it's not even a discuss and consider. Just discuss. So is a general feeling then from the commission to kick this to the Sustainability Committee? I'm not hearing anybody say no, so.
Sure.
But, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will do that. Do that, add it to the December meeting. All right, moving on then. Item 9 is presentation on the current status of Carp Sea Regional Plan update.
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and share a few slides here.
All right, thanks, Aaron.
Assume you're seeing it.
We're seeing it.
Good. So along with most of the planning directors in Dane County, I've been participating with Carp Sea on their update to their regional comprehensive plan, just as kind of on their advisory committee. One of the things they asked us to do was just go back to our plan commissions with a little bit of an update on what they're doing. So basically they follow the same statutes that a municipality would in putting this together. The intent is to kind of encourage collaboration and discourage conflict between adjacent municipalities and kind of come to a common vision where possible for the future of the county. Their growth projections between now and 2050, which is the planning period they're looking at, they're projecting almost 200,000 new residents within the county. So just trying to go through the process of finding the best places to put them and how to best accommodate them in the coming decades. The first step that they went through for this process was back in 2016. They did I believe it was a series of surveys called the Greater Madison Vision, getting feedback from the community and from the municipalities. The 4 kind of key issues that they found coming out of those surveys was the importance of environment and climate change, access for opportunity for people and groups across the region, expanding transit and housing options, and preservation of farming areas in the rural communities. The second phase of the project is basically where they're at now. The Carp Sea planners are taking those goals and fine-tuning them and leading to more specific objectives. Skip ahead. They've also been going through some case studies and examples of other regional plans around the country, kind of taking best practices from those. They've gone through all the local comprehensive plans to get a feel for those. I met with their planners last week to kind of discuss our future land use plan with them. I think we'll be seeing future iterations of this as they make more progress, but now they're in the process of really kind of fleshing out this plan based on the survey input, the municipalities' input, the local comprehensive plans to try to balance out all of those objectives and issues. And this will be something that's ongoing into 2021. So if there's any questions on that, otherwise we'll probably come back to this periodically just to let you know what's going on.
All right, thanks, Aaron. Any questions from commission members?
No questions, but just a comment that they're also looking to focus on the transportation plans, which we've always had, and making sure they integrate with adjoining communities, which we know we have an ongoing issue with that, and I'm glad to see that they are looking to help improve that.
Carp Sea seems to have a much higher level of coordination with the transportation planning group lately, which is good and kind of an obvious step for them to take, I think.
Something I haven't seen a whole lot. I think I attended one Carp Sea meeting in my 2 years on the board, but I haven't seen anything on that. You're really that landfill, right? So the landfill is anchored right to the southeast side here of Dane County, and over the past several years, it's been pretty odorous, and blowing actually into the town and into the village even, I think. So adding 200,000 people, getting people to and from places is important, but then also somehow dealing with that waste stream is something that's got to be thought about too. And I haven't really seen a lot of these slides kind of don't do that. So looking at infrastructure, looking at sewer management, looking at all these other things, the top four, those are the things people sort of see up front, so that slide of the survey findings, the sort of climate change, access to opportunities. I mean, so that stuff is there, but there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff, as you guys know, that's got to go into place to build a community, and don't really ever see a lot of slides on that. So it'll be interesting to see how they try to address that with that kind of growth.
Other questions or comments? All right, Aaron, I think the commission looks forward to future updates in this area. And certainly if you need our input or the board as they go through some of this, we'll certainly add it to future agendas as well. All right. Moving on then to item 10 is future agenda items. We do, as was mentioned earlier by Alex, the September meeting minutes, we do need to get that on the next meeting to get those approved. Matt or Aaron, are you seeing other things that we're going to pop up on next month's agenda?
Kevin Metcalf and his group are planning to submit their general development plan and preliminary plat. They did a neighborhood meeting. I think I sent you guys the notice on that last week, and it seemed to go very well compared to the gas station and the rumors of the affordable housing project. The neighbors there seem to really like this a lot better. So looks like we have a winning project, at least as far as the neighbors are concerned.
All right. Thanks, Aaron. Matt, anything else that you are aware of?
No, I don't have anything else.
Okay. Or the commission members as well. All right.
I think just as a reminder, those minutes, right?
Yeah, that was it.
Yep.
So we'll have two this meeting and September's meeting to approve. All right, then final item is adjournment. Anyone wants to make a motion there?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
You're done. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kim. All right, non-debatable. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, I think we are adjourned. Thanks, everyone. Have a great
Good night, everybody.